This is Lee with my exbackcoach.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about how older people can get their ex back and some of the differences that I have observed in terms of how older people process this and how younger people process this. Take a second and click the subscribe button below so that you can be notified when I have more videos that are helpful to your situation, and that includes attraction, relationship dynamics, breakups, marriages, and mindfulness. So I talk to a lot of people and get a lot of feedback from purchases of my emergency breakup kit, which you can get a link to in the description below. And so I have an amazing vantage point in terms of just observing how people interact before and after a breakup, especially when trying to get their ex back. And so what I'm going to talk to you today about involves more observation. And some of it is going to get into things that might make us a little bit uncomfortable, like how some people see gender roles and how that affects things, especially based on your age. So a lot of times I have a client on the phone who is older than me, and yet they've obviously seen fewer breakups because I do this professionally. And they're asking me about how to get their ex back. And when I say older, I just mean in general terms, let's just call it 45 and above. However, some of this would apply to people who are 35 to 45. It's really just generalities, but it's important in terms of what I have observed. One of the biggest obstacles I see when I'm speaking with an older person, usually an older woman who's trying to get an ex-boyfriend back, is that the gender roles in terms of whose court is it in is difficult. Even a lot of times when a woman has broken up with a man and they're older, the woman will still seem to think that it should be the man who contacts her. And she has some of this because partly how she was raised a lot of times is that she thinks that the man is supposed to be the leader and the pursuer. The logical problem there that I usually have to get her to understand is that if she broke up with him, the ball is in her court. She's dismissed him, and she's the one that needs to actually pursue him if she wants him back, because she's the one who broke up with him. Now, most people who are older do get this, and most of them do not have that view, but a higher percentage of them have that view than do younger people, who really almost, for the most part, have an equal view of it in terms if they did dump the other person, they do understand that they are the one who needs to do something to get this other person back. And of course, I'm ruling out if there was cheating or something bad that was specifically done that caused the breakup. In that case, sometimes the role is more on the person who has been dumped to do things to get back. And I talk about that in other videos and in my emergency breakup kit. But just know, if you are older and you're watching this video and you want your ex back, if you broke up with them, it is most likely your responsibility to reach out and pursue to get them back. And that can involve a simple message, something like, I've been thinking and reflecting on things, and I believe I was wrong. I'm sorry. Could we talk? Or could we have coffee? But just remember, it does not matter what your gender is. If you broke up with the other person, you have dismissed them and pushed them away and told them you don't want them in your life anymore, at least not in that capacity. And if you want it back, you are the one who needs to go toward them, because for all they know, that's what you want still. So the burden really should be and is on you, and that's what most people expect. So if you have it in your mind that even though you broke up with them, that you broke up with him and he should be chasing to get you back, and you want that to happen, well, you know, you're going to have to accept that you're the one who made that decision. You're the one who broke up with him, and you need to do something to actually rectify the situation and show some interest and some pursuit of him. It's only fair, and that's most likely what he's thinking. So first thing you need to do is forget about the hard to get stuff you were raised being told that you need to do when it comes to men, because when you broke up with them, even if you had that strategy before, that's not what you need to do now, because they need to know that you are interested again in having them back in your life, or else why would they pursue if you've told them to leave? It might take a second to grasp, even though it's pretty logical, but that's one of the first things that I notice, is that a higher percentage of women especially tend to think that even if they broke up with a man, that he should be the one chasing and pursuing and trying to get them back. And that's really not how it should be if you broke up with him. The ball is really in your court if you want the best chance of getting this person back. And so that might mean that you need to do more than you feel comfortable. Maybe you don't feel comfortable reaching out and being that direct. And again, you have to decide what is most valuable to you. And if you want to get this person back, then you might have to do something that's uncomfortable or a little bit out of your comfort zone. So you have to decide what you want and then go for it. Another thing that I noticed that might be surprising to some of you is that when someone is in that older ish bracket, they tend to maybe not see the value of face-to-face as much, which I would think would be the opposite. But again, these are just my observations. There's a lot of people who will go long periods of time where they're having text conversations or phone, and they kind of tend to be comfortable with that and think that that's okay and that we're making progress with this and we have something, but they're usually wanting more and they don't know exactly what to do. And so I have to often try to convince them, you need to see this person face to face, because that's when you have the most influence with someone, is face to face, especially when you're considering attraction. So if you're older and you're watching this video, that's one thing that I would tell you. If you just think that you can get this person back by texting and phone calls and having nice conversations, then just by the numbers, you're not thinking about that correctly, and you need to get them face to face, because face to face raises your chances significantly. And so casually suggesting a meetup, having coffee, again, might be out of your comfort zone, but if you're already talking with this person, then they should be receptive to that. And the rules of no contact don't really apply because you're not in no contact. And so you could suggest coffee. You could say, when are you free to have coffee? You could intro that with, we should catch up. When are you free to have coffee? Something like that. And so something else that tends to hinder people who are older and getting their ex back is that there is a focus, generally speaking, on the label being put back very quickly. And so whereas a lot of people who are younger tend to be more comfortable with being in sort of a limbo state where you're acting like a couple, but you're not as far as the label goes, but you're doing things that you used to do when you were a couple. Whereas it seems like a lot of the older people really want that label, which can really put pressure on the other person and slow things down, because they will begin to feel that you are trying to move them faster than they're ready to go, or they're not 100% sure that's what they want, or they don't want to lead you on, or they don't want you to think that they're crazy because they broke up with you and now they're starting to talk with you again, and all of a sudden they would just be jumping back in and saying, yes, we are boyfriend and girlfriend again. And they know how that looks. And so a lot of them are afraid that you will think that they're crazy. And don't go saying, hey, I won't think you're crazy if we put the label back on it and call each other boyfriend and girlfriend again. Just don't say it. Try to be comfortable with being a couple, and the label will come. But don't try to rush that part. Enjoy the moment, enjoy being with this person. Your job is to reattract them, just like on the first date. Your goal is to get a second date. Think of it in smaller terms like that, and your chances of success will be much higher. Older people who are trying to get an ex back, or who is the ex that you're trying to get back, tend to focus more on their family and maybe how their family sees things. And so that will factor in, because if their family thinks they're jumping back in too quickly, or that you were bad for them, their family's opinions will be important, especially if they have older children who will tell their opinion, or if they have younger children who they think are impressionable and they're not really wanting to get them involved and meeting you again if they're not sure that you two have long-term potential anymore. So keep that in mind, and just know that that's another reason to not put a lot of pressure on the label, because people tend to feel that once the label is there, that it's more official and they need to tell people, or that they're keeping something from their kids if they're having to sneak to see you, and that their kids might look at them and say, this person's not good for you, what are you doing? There's all kinds of things that factor in with the person's family or people who are close to them and have a lot of influence on them. And it's just something that you need to be aware of is there. And it's another reason why taking things slowly, not forcing the label, and trying to stay in the moment as though you two were starting over is so important, because these are the people who you want on your side, and you don't want them to think that you're in and out or on and off again with this person, because that might concern them. So just know that that does factor in their family. Older people also tend to focus on locality. And so if you're in a long distance relationship, those are the toughest ones anyway, no matter what your age is, but it's especially more difficult if you're older. That being said, older people often have more flexibility in their schedule and can travel more. So sometimes it works out well, but the mindset tends to be on, when can we get in the same place? When can we just be nearby, 10 to 15 minutes away from each other, so that we could just have lunch when we want to, so that we can see each other and be a real physical part of each other's lives, more than if we're long distance. And so a lot of times if you're trying to get an ex back and they are in another state, that's a bigger factor than most people think as far as the long distance part of it, because they will tend to think, I'm getting older, this is a stage in my life when I want to have someone nearby and I don't want to have to keep traveling hours to see them. And so if you're serious about getting back together with this person and you know that's a big part of it, then moving to them or them moving to you needs to be on the table. because long term it is very difficult to make long distance relationships work. I've got the numbers that show that it's just a lot more difficult. In the beginning, you think you will make it work because attraction's so high, but eventually that can erode emotional attraction. And in terms of older people, it seems to be even more important. So keep that in mind, that that's a big problem that you don't need to diminish or downplay. If you want to be back together with this person, it needs to be on the table that you two can be local to each other. Otherwise, the odds are just slim that it will work. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm just basing this on numbers and observations. With people who are older, it still comes down to the feeling of loss. The person who you are trying to get back needs to feel that they're losing you in order for them to know how they really feel about you. They need to see your place in their life, and the only way they can see that a lot of times, if they've broken up with you, is by not having you there. And so while the tendency, especially with older people, is to keep in touch, is to reach out and be friendly and polite, like you should be friendly and polite, but in terms of the number of reaching out, it needs to be way down, and you need to watch some of my videos on no contact. And you can do that by going to my channel or by going to my website, myexpatcoach.com, and my emergency breakup kit that you can get by clicking the link below in the description goes into this in detail and why it's so important. But after the breakup, you felt the loss if you're the one who was broken up with. You felt the loss and the other person felt the control. So they didn't feel the same urgency that you did. That's why you feel panicked, and that's why it hurts so much, is because you feel the loss. The other person chose the loss, therefore they feel in control. What no contact does is turn the tables to where they can feel the loss because you aren't pursuing them. What no contact does is turn the tables to where they can feel the loss because they see that you aren't pursuing them, and they start to wonder if you are moving on or if you will ever pursue them. And they learn that you can stay away from them. And so that begins to put the ball back into their court where they have to do something to get you back. Basically, they're able to miss you because you disappear. They aren't getting your texts anymore or your calls. And they fear that you're moving on. And that fear of loss is so key and so important that I can't overstate it. And a lot of people really hurt their chances by continuing to reach out to this person who broke up with them and try to get them back, because the other person begins to see the normal as being that you will not leave and you will not go away, and therefore they don't have to worry about it. And you actually help them move on and push them away from you when you do that. They need to see that they could lose you so that they can face that reality and the consequences of the breakup, or else your odds of getting them back are slim. No contact tends to work exceptionally well for older people because a lot of times they understand the value of relationships, and so they don't just want you to disappear, and they can really feel that more. A lot of times younger people have not had the same life experiences and have not lost as many people in their world and don't realize that. Now obviously these are generalities. There are plenty of younger people who have had those losses, and they value the relationship and they value people in their lives who matter and who love them. And so it can work either way. It's really based on life experiences, which older people tend to have more of those. So generally speaking, they tend to value relationships more, especially when it was a good, caring, healthy, loving relationship where there wasn't arguing, fighting, rejection, and that kind of thing. And there certainly should not have been a lot of drama, because older people also tend to just think, I'm not going to put up with this drama, I don't need it. Because they have had other relationships, they have had breakups, and a lot of them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and they will get over it even though it hurts now. And so they can look back at the quality of the relationship, and if they see a lot of anger and drama and those negatives, then a lot of times they're able to push through knowing that they will get over this. That being said, again, it's based on life experience, and people have different life experiences to draw from. Older people tend to have more. So a lot of it is the same in terms of older versus younger. No contact is still a powerful ally for you to get your ex back. It still allows you to reclaim the power and to help them feel the loss, and that's the most important thing. They have to miss you and see your role in their life and that it's gone, that you are gone. I have a lot more information on that in my emergency breakup kit, which you can get from the link below. Just click on it and it will have clear instructions on how to get that, and it's a series of videos that you can watch on your computer or on your phone. This has been Coach Lee with myexpatcoach.com. Please click the subscribe button below so that you can be notified when I have more videos.